Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to do something a little bit different with this video. I'm a fan of the Facsimile and True Believers reprint line that Marvel Comics does. And I started writing out my top 10 books that I wish that they would reprint as a True Believer or Facsimile book sometime in the future. The only criteria to make it on my list was that it didn't have a True Believer or Facsimile reprint already. Before we get started with my list, let's acknowledge some recent subscribers to my channel, which include Superior Hero Reviews, thanks for subscribing, as well as Purgatory Paul's book reviews, Jig's Kingdom, Cap'n Comics, Over Easy Mode, Comic Book Ben, and Matthew's Nerdy Nation. These are all recent subscribers to my channel. Please go and check out their channel and the content that they're creating for the community and subscribe to them as well. So my countdown today is in really no particular order except for alphabetical. Let's get started with Amazing Adventures Volume 2, issue number 11. Now this I would actually prefer in a facsimile over True Believer. It's the first book where the Hank McCoy Beast character is furry. And the reason that I said that I would like to have this as a facsimile as opposed to a True Believer, in the letter column, it explains Roy Thomas's decision of taking the character from the incarnation that he was before and evolving him into this furry form. And I think that would be an interesting thing to see and read. I knew I wanted to include an Amazing Spider-Man comic in my collection, and originally the choice would have been issue 86 with the Black Widow, but that is coming out in a few weeks as a True Believer title, Black Widow and Spider-Man. So instead I decided to go with Amazing Spider-Man 62 because of that great Medusa cover. I've never read the story, but that's a cover buy alone for me right then and there. Deciding what Avengers book to put into this list was tough. 57 was one that I thought about for a while. Also 81, 104, 113, 116, and 128 were all under consideration. The majority of those covers featured the Scarlet Witch. Well, what I ended up settling on, though, issue 75. Of course, we see this great Quicksilver image. That image became his stock image that they used for the Marvel Value Stamp number 52, and also his 1975 7-Eleven Slurpee Cup. This is also the first gray version of his costume. Among Us Hide the Inhumans, Fantastic Four number 45. This is the first appearance of the majority of the Inhuman royal family: Black Bolt, Karnak, Crystal, Triton, and of course, Lockjaw. I've seen an original of this book at a half-price books in my area, way out of my price range because it's such a key issue, but I certainly would love to have an affordable way to have a single floppy book of it. So just a few moments ago, I was talking about Roy Thomas and his decision to change the Hank McCoy character, Beast, into a furry version. That's not the only time he's done that to a character. Take, for example, Giant-Sized Creatures number 1. This one-shot found the cat becoming Tigra. Incidentally, this is one of the few Marvel comic books that had a giant size that didn't actually have its own series. And I thought it was funny, and I never thought about this until I heard somebody else point this out before. Giant-sized creatures doesn't mean that the creatures themselves are giant-sized. You could tell already that I'm a fan of the Inhumans and the Hulk versus Inhumans with that classic Jim Steranko cover. This is Hulk Annual number 1 or Hulk Special number 1. It's a wall book that you see at most LCSs or at comic conventions because of the fantastic cover. I've never read the story, and I'd certainly like to. Another book that I for sure had to include, just because of the cover alone, is Iron Man 128. This is part 9 of the classic Demon in a Bottle story. When I think of Bronze Age Iron Man comic books, this is definitely the one that comes to mind for me. Marvel Spotlight number 32 featured the first appearance of Spider-Woman. In that issue, she was referred to as Arachne. This comic, the original actually, is number 2 on my most wanted top 12 list of 2020, but it'd be great to have a Facsimile or True Believer reprint title as a reader copy. I was surprised with Spider-Woman recently relaunching a new series that they didn't include this as a reprint or facsimile title. X-Men number 4, going back to the Silver Age. The first appearance of the original Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. The first appearance of Toad, Mastermind, Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch. Of course, the coloring for the cover of number 4 and actually number 5 features Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch's costume colors incorrect, although they are correctly colored inside the story themselves, but on the cover, something happened with the plates during the printing process and there was an error. I mean, after all, someone called the Scarlet Witch wouldn't be green, would she? What's also interesting about this issue, you see Beast wearing gloves for the first time, if not the only time, during a quick portion of the interior story. And the only book to make 2 appearances on my list is X-Men, issue 94. This is the first Chris Claremont X-Men story, and of course it's the second appearance of the brand new in-place team from the 1970s. I think this is a great cover, as most of these books are too, and just would be a fun story to have archived in the True Believers or Facsimile edition. Now don't get me wrong, I certainly would like to own the originals of all of these comics that I shared with you today, but until I'm able to make that happen, I wouldn't mind having a True Believers or a Facsimile reprint edition of these. It would be a no-brainer to buy these if I saw these in a store. What books would you like to see Marvel reprint sometime as a facsimile or true edition? Leave your comments below. Also, if you wouldn't mind, and haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. I certainly would appreciate it. Sometime in the future, we'll look at DC's line of reprints, and I'll put together a top 10 wish list for them. Until then, take care of yourself, and thanks again for visiting.